Alright, what is going on, world? I am the Hungarian Experiment. Now, if you're watching this video, most likely it's because I mentioned that I stopped smoking tobacco and that I was actually smoking tobacco with my marijuana for about the last 10 years here in my latest vlog video. So if you guys came here, thank you so much for coming over this other YouTube channel that I have. I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button right now. That'd be absolutely amazing. If not, that's cool too. But in this video, I want to dive in and discuss my marijuana and tobacco use. I do have a few notes here, so please bear with me. I want to be as open and honest and truthful, and I sat down and analyzed, the last 5 to 10 years of my life, and I kind of wrote some things down here. So basically, I've been smoking marijuana since I was I think I started when I was 15 years old. I got kind of pressured by some people, even though it was something I wanted to experiment around with myself. Some kids were like, after I joined the football team, I was hanging out with some kids who didn't go to my school because of the area that I lived in, and they're like, "Oh man, you're a tough guy, you're a football player, come on, you can do this." So I actually went off into the woods with this guy and this girl, and I hit marijuana out of a pipe for the very first time ever. And to be honest, I really didn't notice any effects at all. I was like, so this is what this big deal is? Like, this is nothing. After that, I didn't really mess around with it for really much at all. I think around halfway through grade 10 is when I really started to experiment around with my friends. We started to do it more. It was a lot better than alcohol, to be honest. We were experimenting with a lot of things back then, and alcohol was something for myself, with the working out and all these kind of things. I was really struggling to lose that last little bit of fat on my body. I was always struggling. I was always a little chubby, and I always avoided alcohol. When we had parties, of course, I would go and indulge, but there were definitely times where I just didn't participate in the drinking, and I focused mainly on smoking. And it was in college, actually. So I must have been 18 at the time. I went off to college. I rented out a room in a house, and the one guy who was already living there, he was a regular popper user. So basically what a popper is, if you have a bong, you got like a little bowl. Instead of that, you have like this weird little stem kind of deal. And you cut off a tiny piece of the cigarette, you push it in this thing, and then you dab your marijuana into it. And honestly, I was like, whoa, this is a little weird. But he's like, come on, try it. I was like, what's the big deal, I like to experiment. I like to try different things out. So I remember this clear as day. I watched him smoke a couple there, and after he passed it over to me and he packed one for me, I remember sitting there. I brewed it up. I was like, this isn't bad. Pulled the thing out, sucked it all in, and I was like, okay. Blew it out, and I was like, oh, and I sank into the couch. And to be honest, as I said there, I can remember this clear as day. It was a very interesting high. It was like a body high. It took over my whole body. I felt tingling. I felt so lightheaded. I was like, this is absolutely amazing. I was honestly sunk into the couch like this for like a minute and a half to 2 minutes, and he was just like kind of giggling at me, laughing at me, because he's like, oh man, that's how I felt the first time. So after that, I was like, yo, pack me another one. And yeah, ever since college there, I've basically been smoking poppers on a daily basis. Nothing excessive or anything. Like, the most I've ever smoked is probably like 2 cigarettes in a day. That's when I was at like the max. But typically the most on a daily basis is about half a cigarette to a full cigarette. I usually never went more or less than that, but yeah, on a daily basis with my marijuana use, ever since I was about 18 years old, I've been smoking marijuana and tobacco on a daily basis. There was a 6-month period where a year and a half into college, I really wanted to get this job in this underground gold mine, and they tested your urine and to see if you were smoking weed or doing any drugs. So I really wanted this job, and I would do anything to get that. So in like December, I stopped marijuana, I stopped everything. And yeah, it wasn't really hard for me at the time. And yeah, I just stopped. I got the job in the mine. I did it for like a month, and then I noticed that like people really aren't getting tested here. So I ended up smoking marijuana and poppers again. I dove right back into it. One of my return trips back home, I bought a bong, I bought a pack of cigarettes, and I bought a bunch of weed. And that's basically what I did for my 2 weeks off. I was spending money because I had a decent amount of money, and I was smoking poppers. And life was okay. You know, nothing was wrong. I was enjoying life. And ever since then, I've basically been back on the poppers. I'm now about to turn 27 in the next week and a half here. And yeah, I'm very glad I stopped. I'm actually going to check my documentation calendar here because I have it documented down when I actually did stop smoking the poppers. And that was on March 19th. It was a Sunday. So we are now on what? So I'm just about 2.5 weeks now. Today is April the 5th. It's a Wednesday. So next Sunday will be a full 3 weeks of absolutely no tobacco use. And I actually stopped smoking marijuana too, just because, you know, moving up here with my mother and all this kind of stuff, it's been stressful. There's been a lot going on. It's been really draining on my body. I've been really stressed out along, you know, stopping the weed, things that are going on at my workplace, which is a whole other story and video right now. I actually had to quit my job because of some bullshit that was going on. But, you know, about 2.5 weeks now, absolutely no tobacco, about a week and a half of absolutely no weed, and life's great. I wake up with energy. I've actually been having some very, very vivid dreams, like, wow. I've always been the type of person, even before I started smoking marijuana, that I could barely ever remember my dreams. I know we all kind of dream about like 6 to 7 dreams a night, but I never really could recall my dreams. I'd always try to think. In college there, I actually kept a dream journal for about a week and a half, and I experienced my first little bit of a lucidity while I was dreaming, but I really had to focus on it. And to be honest, ever since then, I'll have the odd dream here and there, but I feel that, you know, with the tobacco and marijuana use, that now that I've stopped, I think it's been affecting my dreams, because over this last week and a half, or maybe there are other factors involved with all the stuff that's going on in my life, that I've been having these very, very vivid dreams, and they're about like videos and concepts that I'm discussing or I want to discuss. So it's kind of actually really good for myself that I've stopped this, because I wake up with lots of energy, I feel great, and I'm glad I stopped. But continuing on with my notes here, so my goal, as I mentioned in the other video there, is to be as open and honest with you guys as possible. I personally didn't think, and I don't think right now, that not telling you guys for the last 2.5 years that along with the marijuana use that I was smoking tobacco is really a big factor. I knew that if I discussed this at least at one point in my life, that you guys could get a great understanding. So let's say something does happen to me. Let's say I do die or pass away, which is, you know, let's not dive into that, but if something does happen to me in my body, I want people to look back and be able to study my body, you know. I see all those crazy things where people get their, after they die, they get their body all sliced up and they're in like museums and things, and I want people to study me. And this is one factor that I think is important to discuss, because if I only mention that I smoke marijuana and then you guys were to test me, or even 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, and you guys weren't aware that I was smoking tobacco this whole time, then that would be a factor that you guys didn't understand. And this is the only thing that I feel like I haven't been truly open and honest about. But as I mentioned there, I feel it's one little factor that, as long as I did discuss it and mention this upon my journey, that you guys should have a great understanding of how this tobacco and marijuana use has affected my body. Now, the whole purpose for me to not mention this on my channel during the time is because I didn't want people to be, I didn't want to see comments all the time saying, man, you should stop, and to stop because I feel pressured from you, or I feel pressured from the world to stop. I wanted to stop on my own terms, and I wanted to stop when the time felt right for me. And this is how it went. So at the time, I didn't want to get shit on. I didn't want to feel pressured. But now, feel free to shit on me. If you guys are disappointed in me for not being open and honest about it at the time, or you guys are disappointed in me because I did do it, then go ahead, feel free to shit on me now. But I felt that this is something that I needed to hold off on discussing. And it's just something that I felt was important for me in my journey in this world. So I know this concept and this idea of tobacco and smoking tobacco is an aspect of life that many people struggle with. Many people struggle with quitting tobacco, and I did go through stints here and there of saying I'm going to stop, and I actually never did. But I also wanted to know and see for myself as a human being, like, what are the withdrawal effects from stopping tobacco? How is this going to affect me now stopping this thing? And again, I didn't want to feel pressured to do that. I wanted to do it on my own terms and when the time felt right for me. So what were the symptoms? What did happen to me? As I mentioned there's a lot of things going on in my life right now, with quitting my job, with moving up here with my mother, then moving up to Ottawa in the next few months with my girlfriend. My girlfriend's going through a lot of stuff with school, so there's stress and pressure all around. The only real side effect that I've noticed is that I got a severe migraine one day at work. Now, as I mentioned, there could be other factors involved. One could have been, that night was absolutely crazy at work and things were all over the place, nothing was going right, and I had to actually go downstairs because I had such a big migraine, and I was just holding my head and I could feel my head pulsating. And that was about a week. I think it was 5 to 6 days after I had stopped smoking tobacco. So I don't know if this is a factor. This may affect you as quitting tobacco, or if you are a popper user. If you're quit poppers, try to make sure it's during a time that's not too stressful for you, but don't hold off. Do it, just stop, guys. It's not good for you. I felt the effects on my body, and this is something I'm going to discuss a little later on in this video, is would I ever do this again? But did I feel any other kind of symptoms or anything? No, not really. Besides that crazy migraine that I had and, just the feeling of wanting to do it. I did smoke, as I mentioned there, marijuana for about a week after that. I was smoking joints because I just felt I needed to carry on the habit. It's a very habitual thing. And that was my issue, is that I would come home every night after work. I wouldn't even have a shower first. I'd go and rip a popper, then do whatever I had to do. Now, as you guys see here, I was still able to be productive during this time. I hammered out probably 300 videos, 2.5 years on YouTube. I've got, a humble brag here, but 20,000 subscribers, over 3 million views, all while I was smoking poppers on a daily basis. So, did I feel any real symptoms after? No, not really, but again, I was only smoking about a cigarette a day, so if you're a regular daily smoker, you can't compare to me. And this might be a lot harder for someone like you. I can only be open and honest about my situation, and besides that crazy migraine that I had and the feeling of wanting to do it when I returned home because of the habitual nature of what I was doing, I really didn't notice any other symptoms. Now, will I do this ever again? Will I start smoking poppers again? When that first week of not smoking poppers, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop tobacco. I'm gonna stop smoking weed over April, and when I finish this, I'll hit some poppers on the weekends just for the fun and the shits of it, and possibly still smoke weed during the week. But now that I've actually stopped for about 2.5 weeks here, I feel absolutely great. Will I ever do it again? I don't know. Probably not. As of right now, I really don't think I'm gonna get into this bullshit again. It was stupid. Can't believe I did this to myself for this long. I can't believe how great I feel right now and the kind of vivid dreams I'm having and all this kind of stuff. So it was great. It was fun during the time. I feel it was better than, we all have issues going on in our lives. Society is very stressful. It's hard to live in this world right now when you know that almost every aspect of what you do as a consumer is possibly destroying this planet. So it's nice to have a release to get away from all these issues and to focus on yourself. And for myself, lots of my friends were into the alcohol, drinking, having a few shots every night, or getting completely plastered on the weekends, and that was just not my thing. I liked smoking, and that's what I did. So, will I do it again? In a year from now? Who knows? Maybe once in a blue moon, if I have a few drinks with some buddies and we're sitting around, I may buy a bong again and have it there. But I do not want this to become a habitual thing. I do not want this to become a regular thing, even like a weekend fun thing for me. Well, I think that's pretty much it. That's all I really have to cover on this subject. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you guys so much for following along my journey and supporting me on my path in this life. I feel every day I'm becoming just a little bit closer to the man that I aspire to be. I go a mile every single day just to get that little bit of an inch. And even though I was on this path and smoking this marijuana with the tobacco, I still was able to be productive, and I kind of gave myself that. Oh man, you're still working hard, you're still doing great things, blah 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 this, blah 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 that. I made excuses for myself. Don't make excuses for yourself, world. Be better than me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this, if you feel you can take something away from this, if you feel you can leave your own opinion about your own journey in life. Did you stop smoking tobacco? How hard was it? What did you have to do to get out of that situation? I want to know, so please leave a comment in the comment section below. And on your way down there, make sure you go hit that like button. I am the Hungarian Experiment.